Hello, 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 hello. Hey, this is Warren Redlick. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for coming. Thanks to the moderators for your support, for helping out with the channel. Thank you to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters for helping this channel. There's a link to Patreon in the description below. Brief note, this week, I'm going to try something. I've done this once before. We're going to end the live stream at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, about 90 minutes from now. We're going to restart the live stream over at the Daily Lie, which is my political / anti-propaganda channel. If you're interested in that sort of thing, it's going to continue over there. If I see questions in the chat or comments in the chat that relate to that, I'm going to remind you, hey, check out the Daily Lie. We're going to talk at night at 2:30. So let's talk about the big news, though. I got to get this on here. Let's get going. Yeah, and everybody, are you ready? Let's go. I love that stuff. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that, and we're going to go here. So Tesla, I talked about this yesterday, but I'm going to talk about it in more depth today. Tesla did its press release with deliveries and production. Now, I think production numbers are more important than delivery numbers. Delivery numbers, there's all these quirky things that interfere with getting deliveries done. Production is the driver because the cars will ultimately be delivered. And the question for me with Tesla is how many cars could they produce rather than how many they deliver. So what stands out to me here is they produced about 237,823. It'll probably get closer to 238,000 when they're done with the calculations. I actually, in a video 2 days ago, I predicted, was it 2 days ago or yesterday morning? I forget when I predicted it. One of my models came up with 237,500. Now, it wasn't my only model. It was my most aggressive model, and I got 237,500. So I was a little close. But I want to talk about how this translates to things that Wall Street looks at closer. How it talks about revenue, how it talks about profit for the company, and how it relates to earnings per share. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but I just wanted you to see this. They produced 238,000 cars. They delivered 241.3. One really other quick thing is the question will be, all right, what's going to happen for Q4? We're going to talk about that. They over-delivered in Q3, which means they shrank their inventory. At the end of Q2, they had some inventory left over, and they were able to over-deliver those cars. So delivery numbers were higher than production numbers. You can't keep doing higher deliveries than productions because at some point your inventory goes to zero at the end of that quarter, and the next quarter you can't deliver all the cars you produced, and your delivery number will swing below production. So I believe that there's still enough left over that 2 quarters ago there was a significant amount of under deliveries, like 6,000, and this is like a 3,500 over delivery. So there still might be room for deliveries to exceed production, and there were supposedly vehicles on ships that didn't get through the port in time to be delivered. So maybe we'll see again some over delivery on Q4 versus Q3 versus deliveries versus production. But we don't know that, and my gut hunch will be that deliveries in Q4 will be slightly below production. But we'll see. Because I think, anything that rolls out, I'm expecting production to increase pace. So any vehicle that's produced on December 31st won't be delivered, and they're going to be producing faster than they're delivering. That's my gut hunch. All right, so let's take this off the screen. Let's move on. So this is my spreadsheet where I go through the numbers. Now, Q1 is over here. These are numbers that were already released. Q2 is over here. These are numbers that were already released. Q3 shows in yellow. These are the numbers that were just released. But down below here for revenue, this row here is automotive revenue. This is a ballpark estimate of average selling price. It's revenue per volume. It's the amount of automotive revenue for the number of cars sold. This line is total revenue for the company, which is automotive revenue plus other revenue like solar, energy, etc. Then we have EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And that is a number that Dave Lee and James Stevenson talk about it. It's part of Elon's pay structure. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And then down here is earnings per share. Oh, wait, but I have the wrong one? I think I have the wrong one. This is income. Where did I do it? Oh, no, I got a problem. Wait, I got a problem. I'm sorry. I got the wrong thing. Let me see if I can find the right thing. I don't know if what I did with it. There should be another one. You try so hard. You try so hard. Is that? I don't know what I did with it. I have another one for earnings per share, and I don't know what I did with it. All right. I'll get to that when I get to it. So I better get to it now. I don't know what I did with that. I'm sorry. I'm using my laptop all of a sudden. What did I do with that image? No, this is terrible. Ah. Oh, okay, here it is. Let's see. I can do this quick. I think we're doing good. Let's see. There we go. I got it. I got it. We're going to take this one off. That's so terrible. I apologize. This one. This is the one I want. Okay. So, I apologize most unreservedly for my mistake. So, this row is total revenue for the company by quarter, and then the last column here is for the year. This is profit or non-GAAP net income, and then this is earnings per share. And these are going to come into play. The last row here is earnings per share. Okay. So, and I want to say in Q4 in pink, I've got my ballpark estimates of vehicle production. Again, this is production, not deliveries. They should track about even. They vary a little bit. I just feel like production's a more reliable number to talk about. Deliveries relates to revenue, so deliveries is better for that purpose. But, so let's start here. These are the actual numbers for in Q3. Let me put the up arrow in. This will work better. Okay, so here we have Model S and X deliveries, or production rather. We have Model 3 and Y production, and we have total production. Now notice here, Model 3 and Y production went from 180,000 to 204,000, roughly a 24,000 increase from Q1 to Q2. And from 204,000 to 228,000, roughly a 24,000 increase from Q2 to Q3. Now I'm projecting, let's look at Q4. I'm projecting that Q4 production of S and X goes up. Number one, you can see how much S production jumped. It's like 7,400 units. S production should ramp more, and we should start seeing some Model X production. We've seen there were some images recently from a drone over Fremont that showed some what looked like some X's are getting close to being produced. So let's be optimistic and say they're going to start producing Model X's. That would lead to maybe 20,000 S's and X's for Q4. Model S and X don't really drive the overall numbers, but they do help average selling price because they sell for so much more. So for 3 and Y, I've got 270,000. Well, if you only added 24,000 to this number, you'd get to like 253. So the extra 17,000, and maybe that'll increase faster, but the extra 17,000 is coming from Model Y production in Berlin and Texas. That's a theory. This number should jump a bit. The increase should be bigger because we should start seeing Model 3, and we should start seeing Model Y production out of Texas and Berlin before the end of the year. We generally expect that they're going to start delivering Model Ys before the end of the year. That's going to be a big jump. So what we see here, so my prediction for automotive revenue for Q3, that's where that's going. And if I'm correct about that, we end up with over 900,000 vehicles delivered in the year 2021. That is a big jump. That is a more than 80% jump. If it's 914,000, it was 500,000 for 2020. So 900,000 would be an 80% jump in vehicles delivered. That's pretty spectacular. Now, 2020 was a much higher proportion of Model S and X, so the average selling price was higher. Model S and X have dropped off a lot for 2021, so average selling price a little lower. But anyway, what we're looking at here is automotive revenue. We've got $12 billion, and usually total revenue down here is automotive revenue plus about 15%. That's roughly what I'm seeing in the numbers. It's pretty consistent. So If automotive revenue is 12 something billion, then we should expect total revenue for the quarter to be 14 billion. Q4, if these numbers hold up, we should see 15 billion in automotive revenue, 17.5 billion. Let me just get this out of the way. I hope I'm doing okay with you guys. So 15 billion automotive revenue, that takes us to 17.5 billion in total revenue. And for the year, this would mean $46 billion in automotive revenue and $54 billion in total revenue. And what I've done here is I've increased average selling price a little bit because pricing has gone up for Model Y, because I believe we're seeing other factors pushing up pricing, and because the increase in Model S and X, these are $100,000 plus vehicles on average. So that drives up average selling price as well. So I'm predicting that average selling price is going to climb a bit to 51 and 52,000. This does not have a huge effect. I was working with 50,000 before. But so key numbers that we see here are 14 billion in just talking about revenue now, because I'm going to show you something else. 14 billion in revenue for the third quarter, 17.5 billion for the fourth quarter, and 53.96 billion. I'm going to move this down. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this down. We're going to come back to this. But for now, let's look at these numbers and let's bring up something else. Boom. Okay. No. Okay, so these are this is Yahoo's summary of analyst estimates for the quarter and the year. So let me pull up my up arrow again. Make this a little smaller. Okay, so what we see here is this is the current quarter, Q3, and they're predicting 1.43 earnings per share. But let's go down to revenue first. So the average estimate for analysts was 13.2 billion, 13.18 billion. And what we saw was what we're looking at is about 14 billion. So revenue should significantly outperform the average analyst. There is some analysts that went higher, but the average estimate was 13.2 billion. And you can see over here, the bottom of the arrow, you can see 14 billion. Is the third quarter. That's roughly what that number should be. So we should see a significant outperformance on revenue. Fourth quarter, we're looking at the average estimate was under 15 billion, and I'm looking at 17.5 billion, which is about the high estimate. So we should expect Tesla to outperform on both those numbers. And then you look for the year. This is for the whole year 2021. The average estimate was 50.18 billion. The high estimate was 54 billion. I've got 54 billion total revenue for the year. Really good sign. I'm not going to address 2022 yet. These numbers over here are 2022 numbers. So we'll start with that. Okay, so I'm going to take the Yahoo estimates away. So right now it looks like Tesla is going to seriously overperform that. Now we've got EBITDA and earnings per share and all that. So EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. You can see that number went up significantly in Q2. We went from 1.84 billion. I've been 3 quarters in a row where EBITDA was around 1.8 billion. That went up to 2.5 billion. If you follow James Stevenson, I interviewed James Stevenson on the channel. As Tesla's revenue and vehicle production goes up, some of the costs go up with that, but some of the costs don't. There's sort of operating costs, administrative costs that don't go up as much with vehicle production and with revenue growth. As more production happens in China, China's a lower cost producer. The Chinese factory produces at lower cost than the Fremont factory. The Chinese factory is able to deliver to Europe more efficiently than the Fremont factory is able to deliver to Europe. And also obviously able to deliver to the Chinese market more efficiently than the Fremont factory is able to deliver to Europe. So these are really good numbers in a lot of ways. So what we expect, though, is as revenue goes up, the jump in EBITDA and earnings and income and earnings should jump more. So ballpark, I'm going with 3.2 billion in EBITDA and 4.2 billion in the fourth quarter, pushing total EBITDA for the year for close to 12 billion. This, by the way, I think pushes. We'll have to see about the revenue side of it, but this is getting closer to Elon exhausting his executive stock compensation plan. I think he has a little ways to go on the revenue numbers, but on the profit, on the EBITDA side, that's one of the drivers. I know 8 billion was a number when he had 8 billion in 4 consecutive quarters, and then 10 billion in 4 consecutive quarters. He's going to satisfy those numbers. I'm not sure if he's at the revenue, what's going to take him, get him to the revenue numbers yet. Thank you, DJ Medusa Lives. Very, very nice support there. How many vehicles do I expect from Berlin, Austin this year? That's a great question. Let me just pull this up here. If you look here in my numbers, there's what I expect, and there's sort of, these are ballpark numbers, but I'm expecting that from Fremont and Shanghai, we should see this 228,000 Model 3 and Model Y production go up to maybe 253,000 or 254,000. At least 16,000 more coming for Model Y in Berlin and Texas. It's possible I'm being too conservative there and that number goes higher. We don't know when they're going to start producing and delivering Model Y from Berlin and Texas. I have a theory that the reason the annual meeting is happening in Austin instead of Fremont is because there's something they want to show us in Austin. And I think what they want to show us is they're ready to start producing Model Ys in Texas. I don't know if they're ready to start producing them in Berlin, but they're about to have a party in Berlin, which suggests they're close to ready to start producing them. So if they start producing them in October, that suggests the numbers are going to be higher. If they don't really start producing and delivering until mid to late November, then the numbers are going to be lower just because it takes time to ramp and the initial production isn't that high. But just to answer your question, I think we're looking at 270,000 total, which about 15,000 of that, 16,000 of that would come from Berlin and Texas. So let me bring this back down. So we're looking at EBITDA. Back up here. Let me just turn this. This is fun. You guys having fun yet? How do I do that? I don't know. There's a way I can rotate it, but I don't remember how. No. I don't remember how to rotate that. There should be a way to rotate it. All right, whatever. I can't do it. I'm messing everything up. I apologize. Okay, so getting back to this point, EBITDA is going to go up. Then we're going to see non-GAAP income. This should also shoot up. And now the earnings per share, the number at the bottom here. I'm going to move that out of the way. Okay, so this is Q2, which we've already got the numbers for. This is Q3, which these are estimates, Q3, Q4, and for the full year. So we've got non-GAAP income. And actually, really, we should look at earnings per share is the one that's going to show up in the Yahoo estimates. So you can see I'm approaching $2 a share at the bottom here for Q3 and $2.70 a share at the bottom for Q4 and then $7 a share. So let's take this down. So we're looking at Q3 at almost $2 a share, Q4 almost $2.70 a share, and over $7 a share total for the year. Now let's see what Yahoo's estimates showed. This is what analyst estimates were predicting. Now we're on the upper part here. So let me pull the up arrow back. Okay, so Q3, the average estimate was $1.43 a share. Even the high estimate was $1.91 a share. That compares to $1.96 a share. So it looks like the earnings per share numbers are going to seriously outperform analyst estimates just for the third quarter. Go to the fourth quarter. They've got $1.70 a share. The high is $2.42 a share. I've got $2.70 a share. So again, we should expect Q4 to massively outperform what the estimates say. And then for the year, they've got $5.38 a share. The high estimate is $6.20. I've got $7 a share earnings for the company. So these are very, very, if I'm correct, and I don't think my numbers can be that far off. If I'm correct, if James Stevenson's analysis is correct, if the way we're looking at this is correct, we're seeing serious outperformance by Tesla on profit, revenue, profit, everything. And if Wall Street makes any freaking sense, which it does not, Tesla stock price should start really shooting up. I don't trust Tesla. I don't trust analysts. I don't trust Wall Street. But, they make estimates and Tesla outperforms the estimates. At some point, you got to say, wow, this company's really kicking it. And, when you look at $7 a share, you start getting to this price earnings ratio question. Okay. And it's $7 a share right here. Let me pull this up here. Hide that. Okay, so this is $7 a share for the year 2021, right? But what's going to happen in 2022? Well, this is the baseline is going to be around $2.70 a share per quarter. And you know it's going to go to $3 a share and $4 a share. So this number for 2022 is probably going to double. And you're going to see like $14 a share. Now, at $7 a share, Tesla's in the ballpark of a price earnings ratio of 100, which sounds really high, but Amazon's like 70. And Tesla's much earlier in the growth curve and growing much faster. So 100 as a price earnings ratio isn't crazy. But when you think, what is Tesla's stock going to be trading at the end of 2022, and what are the earnings going to be at the end of 2022? You know, if you're starting at $3 a share in Q1 2022, and maybe you're looking at $4 a share, and then you're going to get to $6 a share, $7 a share by the end of 2022, Q4, you might be looking at $20 a share in terms of earnings per share. Alexandra, nice to see you. Thank you for your support. Do I see a slowdown in Q4's growth if the tax credit applies on January 1st? Or will rest of world and higher price models outperform? This is a great question. Let me turn on this for a second. I'm going to put this away. Thank you for your question. Number one, I do not believe we're going to see a tax credit. I do not think that the federal government will follow through, that Congress and Biden will follow through on a tax credit, because here's the ultimate problem with the tax credit. The ultimate problem with the tax credit politically is that the biggest benefit goes to Tesla and to Tesla buyers. It does not benefit significantly Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, unions, the political interests that drive the Democratic Party in the United States. And it doesn't really drive the interests that support the Republican Party either. It doesn't drive the oil companies, doesn't drive, whoever the special interests are. Tesla isn't one of them. We're not one of them. So why would they pass a benefit, something that benefits people they don't care about, people who aren't giving them money, people who aren't helping them win elections? So, the benefits to Ford and General Motors are so small compared to the benefit it delivers to Tesla that I think they've just decided this isn't going to happen. And so you'll see some news about it this way, that way. I don't think the tax credit's going to happen, period. I'm wrong about politics all the time. My election calls are almost always wrong, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So, about higher price models. So one of my theories, am I going to address this? I don't think I have this in my list of images, so let me just talk about this really quick. In 4 days, Tesla's going to have their annual shareholder meeting virtual from Austin, Texas. I think the reason it's virtual is they're going to do it from inside the factory, and they can't let other people in the factory yet because the factory's under construction. I was just there. If you check some of my recent videos, I was just there. There's massive construction going on. They can't let regular people into that factory. I think they're going to do it from the factory. And there's a reason why. Now, this is speculation. This is total speculation. But the reason why I think they're going to do it from the factory is they're going to show us that the Model Y is ready to be produced or already being produced. And I think the Texas Model Y, this is big. This is from me. This is from Jordan Giesecke, the limiting factor. Once they're able to produce the Texas Model Y, the Berlin Model Y, with 4680 cells, front and rear casting, structural pack, the vehicle's going to weigh about 500 pounds less. With 500 pounds less, its range is going to go up and its performance is going to be spectacular. So my prediction is that the first Texas Model Y will be a high-performance, long-range vehicle that they will charge more for. It will cost them less to build it in the long run, but they're going to charge more for this vehicle. So if current Model Y is, say, $60,000, this one will be $70,000 to $75,000. And it's going to be absolutely spectacular. If that happens, if I'm correct, that actually drives up average selling price. And my theory is, and again, this is all theory, is because it's going to be a different vehicle. They're not going to sell the Texas Model Y as the same vehicle that they're selling now out of Fremont. It's going to be a different type of vehicle, a different model. I could see them start taking orders for Texas Model Y right after the annual meeting's over or during the annual meeting. Put your order in now. And my suggestion, by the way, is the minute you can put it in order, put it in order. Because that, if you get one of the first ones coming out of that factory, number one, it's going to be spectacular. Number two, you'll be able to resell it. So thank you, the big swings, for your support. Tesla stock will crash. I did a video analysis on it. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to watch that, the big swings. I'm doing it. I'm doing my analysis right here. If you have a comment about what's wrong in my analysis, maybe you can put that in the chat. But we're not. I'm not recommending people check out your video. But thank you for your support. So yeah, Jim Whitehead says it'll be a plaid Model Y. I'm not sure they'll call it plaid, but if it does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds, that would be the same as the Plaid X. So maybe they will call it Plaid Model Y. I don't know. I think Plaid is typically reserved for the tri-motor with the high spinning RPMs with the carbon sleeve rotor. So I don't think they'll call it Plaid, but maybe they'll call it a high performance Model Y. Maybe they will call it Plaid. I don't know. I don't think they're going to aim for necessarily super high top speed, but it will handle great and everything else. Oh, Malcolm Flynn is bringing me back to this point here. So, thank you, Malcolm, for bringing me back to what I should be talking about. So if it's $7 earnings per share, if it's $7 earnings per share and you do 100 price earnings ratio, you get to $700 a share. Now, I would argue that $100 price earnings ratio is absurdly low, but the more important thing is looking forward and saying, all right, what's earnings per share going to be in 2022? And you start with $2.68 for the quarter as a baseline, and you figure that's going up. So average earnings per share per quarter over the course of 2022, I'm going to say $4 or $5 a share. So let's say it's $5 a share average over the 4 quarters. That's a $20 earnings per share over the year. And at a 50 price earnings ratio, that would be a $1,000 share price. And $50 price earnings ratio would be less than Amazon's price earnings ratio. So I would say at least a 75 price earnings ratio on $20 a share gets you to a $1,500 share price at the end of the year. And at a $100 price earnings ratio, you're up around $2,000 a share. This assumes, by the way, this is just manufacturing, selling cars. This assumes that they don't nail FSD before the end of 2022. If they nail FSD before the end of 2022, and I think it's going to be sometime in the first half of 2022, and they're able to start selling FSD for more money, they're able to maybe start the robotaxi network up by the end of the year, then I think we're going to see a much bigger share price and much bigger earnings. Because the future starts to look really bright. And at some point, Wall Street has to figure out, wait a minute, this is crazy. So I think I answered that question. Let me just see. I think they can just call it Model Y high performance. Yes, I'm totally on Mathawana. By the way, t-shirts, Elon Be Less Wrong, Elon stainless steel mug, all at elonbits.com. Link in the description below. Thank you for reminding me about the merch. Yes, Donald Klein, I agree. There will be no tax credit. Marcus Heap asks, will Tesla pass Toyota in vehicle production before 2025? Yes. Yes, I think so. I think Toyota's going to decline and Tesla's going to rise, and it will be that good. So, all right, let me move on. Oh, Mav Ace asks a great question. Let me pull this back up again. Mav Ace asks, how the hell do you get from $2.68 to $5 on average for next year? So Mav, we're going to see the Giga Texas and Giga Berlin factories come online. We're going from 2 older generation factories to 4 factories, with 2 of them being newer generation factories. The profit number goes up because Giga Berlin delivers to Europe. So we stopped making vehicles in Fremont or China, in California or China, and delivering them to Europe. And the deliveries are now local, and that lowers the cost of producing and delivering the vehicles to the customers. So that $2.68 that you see here, that number is artificially low because Tesla has to spend a lot of money sourcing parts from one place, moving to another, delivering cars to a different place. Now, all of a sudden, China-made vehicles are delivered in China and other parts of Asia. European vehicles are produced in Europe and delivered in Europe, saving a lot of expense there. And American vehicles are produced in America and delivered in America. And so that Number one, you see a significant increase in vehicle production that drives a higher earnings per share. Number two, the administrative costs become a smaller part that shrinks as a share of revenue. So profit goes up because of that, and profit goes up because you're closer to the customer. So those are the reasons why that 268 a share. I mean, you can look at it right here. Q1 was under $1 a share, and Q4 is 268 a share. So we basically almost tripled earnings per share in 3 quarters. Okay, we just tripled it, right? If I'm correct, if we're going to see 270 a share in Q4, that's triple Q1. So if it triples again in 4 quarters, right, then this is almost $9 a share, and Q4 is $10 a share. So that's what's going on. So the average, this number in Q1 is probably going to be $4 a share, $3.50, close to $4 a share, and it's rising. So that's why the average earnings per share in 2022 per quarter will be up around $5 or more a share. This is a key point. This is the James Stevenson analysis. I'm channeling James Stevenson, who's I Can Enough on Twitter. He does this lengthy analysis, and he made this point, and we did see a jump. Let me pull this up. In EBITDA, this number here, this first number here, this EBITDA, this was EBITDA for the first quarter, and the 2 previous quarters were about the same. It didn't go up. But we saw a jump in EBITDA in the second quarter, and that's because of a bunch of factors that are leading to increase in Tesla's and profits, right? As you produce locally, you increase profits. As you produce more in China versus Fremont, you increase profits. As you grow, the share of administrative costs goes down compared to other costs. So all these things come together, you see significant increases in profits. These numbers might be conservative. I think James' numbers are actually bigger than mine. So we'll see. All right, let me move on now. So we're going to talk about, we're going to do, now we're going to move into, I don't have my normal list of topics, but we're moving into Elon tweets, still about Tesla. There was this meeting, there's these reports that there was a crisis meeting for Volkswagen in Germany to talk about the fact that they're having real trouble competing with Tesla. And the specific detail I heard was that Dice, the CEO or the leader of Volkswagen, was complaining that Tesla produces a car in 3 days and it takes Volkswagen 10 days to produce a car. And so they're going to try to increase their productivity so they can get to producing a car in 3 days. The problem with this is that 3 years from now, when they get to producing a car in 3 days, Tesla's going to be producing a car in 30 minutes or 3 hours. Tesla's a moving target. If you try to catch up to where Tesla was 3 years ago, they're 5 years ahead by the time you get there. But Elon responded to that by saying that manufacturing will be Tesla's long-term competitive strength. This is something he talks about a lot. The same way you see Tesla or SpaceX doing iterative manufacturing, iterative design of Starship, Tesla's doing the same thing with its cars. Not just to make a better car, but to make the factory more efficient so they can produce cars more efficiently and faster and higher velocity and all those things. So he also responded to Gali, that's Hyperchange TV on YouTube, one of my favorite channels. Gali talked about return on invested capital and basically effectively Tesla's return on capital or margins. There's 2 different things, but return on invested capital is really high, 23%. And Gali is saying that it's going to keep rising, and Elon says no guarantees, but I think it will. This is a big part of what I meant by Tesla's long-term competitive advantage being manufacturing technology. As Tesla improves its manufacturing technology, it's able to increase its return on invested capital. They talked about this at Battery Day, that if they can make their factories more efficiently, the battery factories, the vehicle factories, whatever, then they're able to reduce the amount of money they have to invest in building that factory while increasing the productivity of that factory, and that increases the return on invested capital. That is a measure that's really important in understanding how successful a company is, and it's great. Oh, it's 10 hours? Was it 3 hours versus 10 hours? It was 3 hours for Model 3 and 10 hours for Volkswagen, and I think they're going to get to 30 minutes on Model 3 when Volkswagen gets to 3 hours. That's what I meant. Thank you for correcting me. Oh, hey, Tom Nash is there. Q3 numbers confirm the slow demise of internal combustion engines is in full force. I agree. Thank you very much. Okay. So Elon, was very pleased with the 240,000 deliveries. Thank you very much to our suppliers and logistics partners for coming through despite great difficulties. So obviously we know about the chip shortage. There's also been some issues with logistics getting vehicles delivered. There's been some holdups in ports, and the Tesla team, the Tesla team is the Tesla employees, but the extended Tesla team, including suppliers and logistics partners, all coming through, making great progress. First time I've seen him mention logistics partners in ever. So that's a really interesting little bomb drop there. And related to that, Elon, there was this tweet about an article about AMD and the chip shortage. And I was a little disappointed in this right here that the AMD CEO says things could begin to get better by the second half of next year. Well, that's a long time to wait for the chip shortage to get resolved. We would like to see the chip shortage get resolved a lot faster than that, and that's not impressive. But that's AMD. Are there other companies that are doing better? And Elon, again, supplier, AMD has been great to work with. Thank you, Tom Nash. Let's see. 10 hours for Model 3, 30 hours for ID3? I'll take your word for it. When are we going to see some Tesla robo-taxi tests? I don't know. Global chip shortage. Where did he get the chips for? So I think that Tesla is really good at figuring out what chips are available and how they can make them work. Oh, Black House says, why do I think Elon says the stock is overpriced? I don't know. I think the stock is underpriced. I think he knows it's underpriced, and I think it's priced too high for the tax purposes of Elon getting his tranches. It's priced too high for employees to be able to buy cheap when the time comes. I don't know. Oh, that's right. AMD doesn't make their own chips. AMD gets their chips from Taiwan. That's true. I forgot about that. Okay. So, and I actually think, by the way, that for the battery day vehicle, the 25K, whatever, the Model 2, Model Q, whatever people want to call it, I call it the battery day vehicle. I think Tesla is probably going to redesign that vehicle and the Cybertruck to minimize the use of chips, to focus on chips that are readily available. I think that's going to be a big part of it. 10 hours versus 30 hours. Thank you, everyone. 10 hours to build a Model 3, 30 hours to build a Volkswagen ID3. Okay. So, moving on. Another issue that there's all these challenges that face a rapidly growing company and face the economy as a whole. Slashdot points to China's growing power crunch, threatens more global supply chain chaos. Elon says this is a serious concern. If you watched, Elon was interviewed by Kara Swisher for CodeCon or something, some conference about coding. I watched it. I didn't see a lot of, normally I would make a video breaking down what he said. And, unfortunately, I don't think Kara Swisher asks the best questions. So there really wasn't a lot of gold in that interview for me to bother using. I would have made a video saying, here's something big Elon said. He didn't say a lot big, but he did mention this. Swisher asked him about China cracking down on Bitcoin, and Elon said, well, it's possible that they're concerned about electricity use because Bitcoin mining uses a lot of electricity, and China has challenges getting enough electricity produced. So, he raised that in the interview with her. He said it again here. My gut is Elon knows more about what's going on in China than I do. Probably knows more than what Taylor Ogan knows, and Taylor Ogan thinks he knows everything about China. So, we'll see. Let's move on. So, regarding FSD, full self-driving, somebody asked Elon, how is version 10.2 looking? Currently, we're on 10.1. When 10.2 is downloaded, supposedly the button that they've pressed, some people will start to get the update and be able to drive FSD beta. I think it's going to be about 1,000 additional people will be able to get new FSD beta, the next version. More people driving it means more data generated, means that the machine learning happens faster and FSD gets better faster. So that's important. I have a theory that has been shot down by people who generally know better than I do. My theory is that Tesla is opening up the beta because they have more computing power now to be able to process all this data coming in. Both Omar Kazi and James Dama shot me down on that, so I'm probably wrong. But, why are they expanding the beta? That's my reason for it. The other reason is just, no, FSD's beta is so good now that they can afford to expand it. So, okay, great. So 10.2 is coming soon, and then he was asked, will the number of beta be expanded this Friday? This was October 1st, and Elon has pushed it back a week to align with 10.2. So that was, I think that was a couple days ago. So that was a couple days ago. So it was pushed to next week. So it looks like October 8th, 10.2 will be downloaded and the beta will expand. So we're looking good. I can say with my experience, let me talk about FSD beta for a second. So I got the opportunity to watch FSD beta. I've had a lot of time watching FSD beta, primarily with Omar Kazi behind the wheel, in person, seeing it. I think it's doing really well. I recognize it's not perfect. It definitely has flaws. There's places where it has problems. I talked about this, I think, yesterday, but biggest flaws are the nav doesn't really, it's not smooth in working with the nav, and sometimes the nav sends it to the wrong place. Can't blame FSD for that. That they got to resolve the FSD/nav conflict. There are 3 stacks. There's a stack for parking lots, there's a stack for regular roads, and there's a stack for highway. I think the transition between stacks is a spot where you see a lot of disengagements, a lot of problems. So I believe it's either 10.2 or 11. We're going to go with one stack rules them all. When the FSD beta is running parking lots and running highways, that eliminates the changeover problem. So that'll help. Those are the 2 biggest in my eyes. Third is some intersections, it's not confident yet. So I've definitely seen it sort of like it should be creeping forward and it doesn't creep forward. It doesn't seem to know where to creep forward to before making the decision to go. You'll be at a stop line and it's very clear that you can creep forward to the edge of the traveled pavement, and it doesn't creep forward to where it should to be able to see. Why is that? I don't know. Hold on. Where are you? Say hello to everybody. This is Charlotte the Wonder Puppy. I think Charlotte wants to leave the room, but this is Charlotte the Wonder Puppy. She's a sweetie. Want to go out? I think she wants to go out of the room, so excuse me. Goes. Not time for her dinner yet, but she wants out, so I let her out. Charlotte the Wonder Puppy. Okay, so they've got a third supercomputer, so they should be improving. They should have more compute. That should help things. Dojo is coming. We don't really know when Dojo is going to go online. It looked like it's got at least a few months to go before Dojo is ready. By the end of the year, early next year, Dojo comes online. That should really accelerate the learning. Rob Markovich says, Warren, I'd love to know the automotive margin of Shanghai versus Fremont. Any way we can get this info? I think if you look at James Stevenson's numbers, I think he puts margin numbers on Shanghai versus Fremont. He feels the margin is significantly higher. So I would watch James Stevenson's Twitter account. I believe shortly before the Q3 earnings call, he's going to put up his 67 tweet analysis. So I would take a look at that, or look at it, check on his old analysis and see what he's got. He's got some pretty good numbers on that. Robert Hirsch says, I'm late. Do you think people will wait for the tax incentive? I don't believe there's going to be a tax incentive. I think the tax incentive is dead in the water. It doesn't benefit the special interests. It only benefits Tesla primarily, so I don't see it happening. All right. Let me finish my list of stuff. This is a small thing, but somebody, I think this was Earl of Frunk Puppy, one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. Earl of Frunk Pumpkin, originally Earl of Frunk Puppy, asked Elon about why there's so many white Model 3s and Ys. That's the free color with Model 3 and Y, and suggesting that they change the free color. That, when you buy the car, one color is free. If you want to switch to a different color, you got to pay something. So Earl was suggesting make silver the free color. And I don't know what Floki is, but Elon said, good point, we'll discuss with team. And Floki picked tomorrow. I think Floki's the dog, right? I think Floki's the dog. So it may be that the free color on Tesla cars will change from white to something else. We'll see. It does seem like there's a lot of white Teslas. Now, I'm in Florida. White is the ideal color for Florida. White is ideal for hot states because it reflects heat better. Now, I have a black Tesla, and it turns out it doesn't matter that much because you turn on the climate control before you get in the car. I think it's a pretty minor detail. Okay, so I think that's everything on my images. Oh, I have other stuff I wanted to talk about. Let me just take some questions first. Why aren't there gourmet chips in the Tesla store? I have no idea. Does anyone know anything about the Tesla factory in Buffalo? They're producing solar. I think they produce something else. Oh, this is nonsense. Shane Sweeting says EVs use 5 to 6 times the amount of ICE cars, and Tesla's production is growing while Legacy Auto claims the shortage is the cause of their decline in production. I don't know what that means, what the use 5 to 6 times. Yes, Floki is Elon's new puppy, correct. Tax credit bill should just omit car manufacturer with T, E, S, L, or A in the name. Then Ford and GM are okay. That's right. Eric Mulder says, Warren, the cars that are sitting on the lot waiting for a part, are they included in the production number? No. If it's not done, it's not done. No, they're not. Amit asks for views on China power crisis and diversification of supply chain to other countries. I don't think the China power crisis is that bad. I don't think the China power crisis is limiting Tesla. Tesla is growing fast in China. Brian Smith says, why haven't I received my beta button? Brian, let's not talk about that during the chat, but if you remind me about that, like text me after the live stream's over, I can email someone and ask. I have a contact I can ask about that. Brian is one of my supporters on Patreon. Please support the channel on Patreon. He's also my neighbor, my friend. He's let me drive his Model Y extensively. He's great. Tom Nash says, look at my latest tweet. I'm not going to look at it during the live stream, Tom. Let's see. Giga Berlin will not only reduce logistics costs, but also avoid import duties. Correct. There's a lot of great things about having Giga Berlin going. Not only that the China vehicles go to China, and that saves money too. Please discuss right to repair. Okay, so I'm going to say this now because I've seen this before. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be as plain as I possibly can about this. I appreciate that somebody out there cares about right to repair. I'm not one of those people. I don't want to see anybody talking about right to repair again in the chat. And if I see you talking about right to repair again in the chat, I am going to hide you from the channel because that is a completely irrelevant topic to what I'm talking about. I don't care about right to repair. Don't talk about it. Rob Markovich, did I see Kathy Wood's latest tweet storm about legacy auto chips and declining sales? Yes, I did. Kathy Wood, for those who don't know, is the head of ARK Invest. That is a company that has ETFs. It's an investment. They invest money in stocks and all that. And I own shares in the main fund, ARKK. I follow Kathy Wood. I get her emails. And she did a tweet storm yesterday. The legacy auto GM and Ford are claiming that they're unable to produce as many cars because of the chip shortage. Kathy is saying maybe it's a demand problem that many consumers have figured out. They want their next vehicle to be an electric vehicle. And instead of going out and buying a new legacy ICE car, they are holding on to their existing car to wait for the EVs to become more available. So what sparked Tesla Kila? I think it was just a funny joke and it turned into a product. Who wants to start soldering Tesla FSD chips now? Giga Berlin will not only, yeah, okay, let's see. All right, I'm going to move on to the next. I'm going to talk about SpaceX a little bit, and we can come back to Tesla later. How do I plan? Oh, this is a good question. Let me adjust this question. How do I plan to fund my other interests in the future? Will I sell Tesla stocks or will I borrow from it? So I am not 100% in Tesla. I have other resources, other assets, whatever you want to call it. The two other interests I'm planning on funding are I'm going to fund 2 startups, one for a single passenger self-driving EV, and the other so what I call solar farm housing, apartment housing and off-grid homes that will have like massive solar generation. I don't think either of these are going to cost me a lot to get started. I do have the funds available to fund both of these startups. I have already started funding the self-driving single passenger self-driving car on a very limited basis. If I get to the point where I can't afford to fund it otherwise, then I will probably do a crowdfunding round for each one of them. Crowdfunding, you can raise up to $5 million. So I'm kind of looking at that as the prospect of where it's going. I think particularly because I probably want to do the solar farm housing near Austin, Texas, and the cost of land is going up like crazy. I may end up crowdfunding to be able to buy the land that I want. I'm probably going to buy some land initially near Austin. That's a long story, but we'll be able to do that. So, all right. So let me move on really quick. I want to talk about SpaceX because I love SpaceX, and I know everybody's excited about it. But this is Elon's tweet. I was at Starbase. I did not get this lovely view of Starbase. Really kind of cool. They had some heavy rains, and apparently there was a lot of lightning that went along with it. And Elon said this is real. Jessica Kirsch, I don't know if Jessica Kirsch is in the chat today, but Jessica Kirsch is staying in an RV park there with her RV, and apparently there was some significant flooding that caused problems for some people. Other people got out before the flooding hit. I cannot underscore enough that's correct for James Stevenson. So really cool to see that. If you can visit Starbase, don't wait. I don't know how long it's going to be before. I think there's a chance that Starbase becomes impossible to visit at some point. I mean, right now there's a state beach that's at the other end of it. They kind of have to let people drive through. But is there a chance at some point they're going to find a way to shut down that road or shut it down a lot? You won't be able to visit as much. I think there's a risk of it. Go visit Starbase as soon as you can. Fly into Brownsville, Texas. Pretty cheap to fly there. Rent a car. Stay in South Padre Island. Stay at Rocket Ranch if you can. Stay in Port Isabel. Stay in Brownsville. Go there. Go once a day for a few hours. At least 3 days in a row, because it's happening so fast. You just going once, you don't get the feel for it. You got to go 3 days in a row. Great Tex-Mex food in Brownsville. Great barbecue in Brownsville. Great beaches in Brownsville. If you stay on South Padre, it's a great resort. It's an hour drive from South Padre to Starbase, but it's worth it. You get to come back out through a border crossing. They will ask you if you're an American citizen. Don't lie, but if you are an American citizen, you just say yes and you go through. It's pretty easy. We didn't have. I don't think they even. I don't remember if they ever made a show. I think that one time he made me show my license. Okay. So that was that. And then there was a tweet about S20. See this? Okay. So this is, it was called SN20, but the Starship that will be flying in the orbital launch did a proofing test where they filled it up with fuel and then they released the fuel. And Elon said that went well. So that's a good sign. I would like to think that Starship's orbital launch will happen soon. My impression is that Starship's orbital launch will not happen until December at the earliest. The FAA has extended public comment period to November 1st. Probably going to take 30 days to review public comments, so that puts you into December. Significant chance that the orbital launch runs into January, but I hope it happens in December. I hope it happens sooner, but it doesn't seem likely it could happen sooner. So, there was this question from Neopork: why does SpaceX always get the lowest government award? And Eric Berger, the author of Liftoff. If you haven't read Liftoff, read Liftoff. Great book. I'm in the middle of it now. I already heard the audiobook the whole way through, but I missed bits and pieces during the drive. So we were on the drive across the country, Inspiration 420, we listened to the book, but I can't pay attention to an audiobook with something else happen, so I lose track. I'm going to read it again. It's literally in my car right now. But Eric Berger said they typically submit the lowest cost bid, and Elon says we aim to do the most for the least money. They probably make more profit on what they do for lower bid as well. SpaceX is doing spectacular work. Awesome. So Planeta Tierra said, I want to talk about different subjects in 1 hour. I don't want to talk about right to repair. Let me be clear about this. I don't want to talk about right to repair because I don't think that's a particularly important topic for analyzing Tesla as a company. There is a small percentage of consumers who care about right to repair, and I'm not one of them. And I don't really have a strong opinion about right to repair. It's just not something that motivates me. I don't think it's a big deal. I understand there's a small subset of people who think right to repair is a big deal, and you can watch, what's the guy's name? There's a channel. He's got like a shop. He's like an electric vehicle repair guy, and he's a really interesting guy. Rich Rebuilds. You can watch Rich Rebuilds. Rich Rebuilds will talk about right to repair till the cows come home. Okay, I think Rich Rebuilds talks about that. I just don't care. I don't have a strong opinion about it. I'm not going to fix it myself. Does it suck for some people? Yes, that they don't have right to repair or something like that. I just don't care. So I'm not the channel to talk about that. So please don't bring up right to repair because I just don't care. I'm sorry. I appreciate your support and everything, but I don't have. Yes, it's Rich Rebuilds, exactly. If that's a topic that interests you, then Rich Rebuilds is the channel for you. I'm not the channel for you. So, and for those who don't know, right to repair is this idea basically that I think this is an issue with Tesla, that if you buy a Tesla and you want to repair it yourself, they don't make it easy for outside shops to do repairs on Tesla vehicles. they don't provide enough information. There may be some issue of violating a warranty, something like that. And it's just like, it doesn't motivate me. I'm excited about them building more cars. I'm excited about them selling more cars. I'm excited about them developing FSD. And to me, right to repair is a small issue that I just don't care about. Just don't. I'm sorry. It matters to some people. I just, like, I'm not the guy to talk about it because I don't care. I'm not the channel for that topic. Rich Rebuilds has left the chat again. Was Rich in the chat? I don't know. That's funny. All right, so I talked about the low bid. The last thing I want to talk about with SpaceX is Michael Sheets said SpaceX has a long track record of suing the U.S. government. It's difficult to reconcile that historical record. Okay, so Amazon accused SpaceX of also filing a lot of lawsuits and basically claiming that Elon is being hypocritical about complaining about Jeff Bezos's lawsuits and Blue Origin's lawsuits. And it is true that SpaceX has sued the U.S. government, but SpaceX is sued to be allowed to compete. Blue Origin is suing to stop competition. That's the key distinction. When SpaceX was trying to compete, they were not allowed to compete, and they sued to be given the opportunity to compete. Blue Origin had the opportunity to compete. Their bid was more than twice as high as SpaceX's, and it would deliver far less payload to the lunar surface. And they still haven't delivered any. Blue Origin has still not delivered a payload to orbit, low Earth orbit, much less the moon. So SpaceX has demonstrated much higher competence. They've done it for much lower cost. Their bid was much lower cost. And Bezos is just suing for the heck of it. Who knows? We don't understand it. All right, so that was that. And I want to turn to, I guess that was it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about, I'm just going to do more questions and answers. And a reminder, we're going to go about a half hour here, and then we're going to shift to the Daily Lie. There's going to be a link at the top of the chat to the Daily Lie. There's a link in the description below to the Daily Lie. I think I put a link in the description below directly to the video, and in the top of the chat, directly to the link where I'm going to be doing the Daily Lie live. I'm going to talk about politics and propaganda rather than talk about Tesla and SpaceX and other things. I didn't see any boring company news or Neuralink news this week, so we're not talking about that. But thank you to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden, all my Patreon supporters. Please support this channel on Patreon. Join the YouTube channel. Join the Daily Lie. And any support is great. Really appreciate it. This is somebody asked about why if you haven't seen it on Twitter, I said that I'm going to retire as a lawyer. My retirement is effective like January 2022. I have 2 cases left. They're probably going to be resolved by January. If they're not, I'm going to hand them off to somebody else. I just don't like being a lawyer anymore. I'm doing this full time anyway. The lawyer thing is a distraction that irritates me. I did a lot of good work over the years. I helped thousands of people get better results on their cases. I helped I helped people resolve their personal issues that were causing them to commit crime. I helped people get more money for their injuries and car accidents. I helped defend. Before that, I defended Allstate cases. I had a meaningful career. I did a lot, but I feel like I have something else to give the world, and that being a lawyer is getting in the way. So that's over. Somebody mentioned that. So 1,000 Ys per day from Austin in December. That would be stunning. I don't think Texas is going to ramp up that fast. When am I doing my next Tesla price prediction video? I think I kind of did it in this video. I think by the end of 2022, we should see $1,500 to $2,000 a share with the increase in earnings per share that we're expecting. I pretty much talked about in this video. What are my odds of Austin Model Y beginning with 4680s? I think Austin Model Y will have 2 lines. I think there will be a 4680 structural pack line, and there'll be a 2170 line. I think we're going to see both coming out of Austin at the same time. That's a prediction. I think 4680 is basically ready at some volume, but maybe not enough to do 2 lines of it. So that's a theory. And I think we're going to find out in a few days. At the 4 days at the shareholder meeting, we might find out. I love the video of me being arrested. Thank you, I think. For those who don't know, as an attorney, I wrote a book called Fair DUI. There's a link to this in the description below. Fair DUI is a book about, basically it's about what happens in a traffic stop in the United States. You get pulled over for something and the police are a lot of situations the police are investigating whether you're drunk or not. And you don't want to be arrested for DUI even if you're sober. People don't realize that sober people get arrested for drunk driving. People get arrested for drugged driving even when they're sober, even when they haven't had any drugs. So I wrote this book. Got really good reviews on Amazon. It's really inexpensive. I think it's a wake-up call for people. It will become irrelevant when all the cars drive themselves, but it's not irrelevant yet. Thank you, Lin Yan Chin. May you and your wife and progeny dream of giant robots. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't think the rest of my family dreams of giant robots, but I might. When is the shareholder meeting is in 4 days at, I think, the 2:30 p.m. or 4:30 p.m. It's on. If you go to ir.tesla.com, it should be on there. Will you help me sue the UAW before you retire? No, I'm not suing anybody anymore. I'm done. Should I max out my margin against my Tesla to buy more Tesla? I am not a fan of margin. I'm not a professional investment advisor. I don't give professional investment advice. Obviously, you should talk to an advisor. I do not like margin. I have never borrowed on margin. I don't intend to borrow on margin. I suppose if I had insane amounts of money, there is a strategy of borrowing on margin and living off of it, but I haven't gotten there yet. Really wish someone would talk about the chip shortage impact for different companies. Maybe Kathy's tweet sort of overlooked that. I think Kathy's tweet was saying that the chip shortage is not as bad as people are saying, and they really have a demand shortage for internal combustion engine vehicles. I don't know if she's correct. Jisama says you can blow below a 0.08 and still get arrested. Roughly 10% of people arrested in Florida for DUI blow a number below 0.08. Or blow a legal number. And a substantial number below 0.000. They don't get the test results after you're already arrested. You're arrested, they take you to the station or they take you to the sheriff's office, whatever, and they have you blow there. You've already been arrested. And here's the shocker. After they arrest you, after you blow a legal number and they know that you're sober, they still file the charge against you and put your mugshot on the internet accusing you of being a drunk. Okay, so you don't want to be, you want to handle those encounters correctly. This is the book that helps you understand how to handle it correctly. And I think it's the best book out there for that. How is Podcar going? I have some engineers working on designs for the Podcar. I have to review. I think we're getting closer to having a full chassis design, and then we go to production to powertrain design next. Will Optimus robots be the first settlers on Mars? I think there's a good chance of that. I think that they will send Optimus bots, the Tesla bot, before they send humans. That seems, well, it depends on how quickly they produce Tesla bot. If they don't have a Tesla bot, they can't do it. I think Elon wants to do an uncrewed launch to Mars in 2022 if possible. Well, 2022 is unlikely. 2024 looks more likely. So I blow a number below its 0.08 every morning. Okay. Do we know of cars produced that need to follow on work? Still, cars that have not been finished are not counted in production. No. Talk about Lucid. They had people in the factory. I'm calling you out. Ben Pena, I am planning on doing a Lucid Motors video shortly. Mark, you don't have to delete messages about Lucid. Moderator Mark just deleted your message, Ben, but I saw it. I am planning on making a video about Lucid. I don't think there's a place for lots of message about Lucid. I will be making a video about Lucid in the next few days, and I will talk about it. And if you're a big fan of Lucid, you're probably not going to like the video. I'm going to say something positive, but you're not going to like my video. So, but it's coming. So get ready. Can I talk about the energy business? I have not seen a lot of news about the energy business. I did see, and I probably should have mentioned this, that the Megapack, that Tesla opened a Megapack factory. I think, was it in California? I think it was in Lathrop, California. So I think we're going to see a significant increase in production of Megapack, and I think the new Megapacks will probably use lithium iron phosphate batteries, which CATL is producing in large volumes, so that's going to be great. John Yent says, will Boring build a tunnel to the beach near Starbase bypassing the current road? That is the rumor. I mean, not just a rumor. I think they've announced that they want to do that, and they're trying to get approval for it. I think it's a great idea, having driven it. Does it solve all the world's problems? No, but that could be a big plus. It'd be particularly a big plus for SpaceX employees at Starbase who are kind of isolated. This is one of the things people don't realize, that Starbase is kind of isolated. So if you're a SpaceX employee at Starbase, you're a little bit isolated there, and being able to get to South Padre Island quickly where there's stuff to do would be a big plus. And there's probably employees living on South Padre Island who'd like to be able to get to Starbase quickly. So, who wants to buy it? Let's see. Marcel says Lucid will bankrupt soon. I don't think Lucid's going to bankrupt soon. Lucid's going to run out of money next year, and they're going to do another funding round. And as far as I can tell, there's plenty of people who want to give them money. I don't think it's a good investment, but it looks like a lot of people will give them money. Has my opinion on Rivian changed? I didn't really have a strong opinion on Rivian. I like the vehicles that they're making. I'm surprised at how much they weigh. I made a video about Rivian's weight, that the vehicle is going to weigh like 7,000 pounds, which is shockingly high. I think Cybertruck's going to weigh less than 5,000 pounds. So I don't think that's a great look for Rivian, but we'll see. When will Tesla develop solid state batteries? I don't think solid state is an issue that needs to be thought about. 4680 is an amazing battery, and solid state might be unnecessary. If I am wrong about Lucid, will I get a tattoo? I love Lou. No. How do we feel about the Rivian So the Rivian IPO filing, what I saw about the Rivian IPO filing was there were some blanks. It's not, I don't think they had full information yet on what the IPO is. I've been waiting for a complete Rivian IPO filing, so I'm going to do a video about Rivian. Note in my calendar, do a video about Rivian and Aptera and maybe something else. But I have to see the IPO filing before I do that. Magikarp says, do I think ICE auto production is being decreased from supply shortages rather than demand? That's Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood saying, I don't know. Kathy Wood is saying it's not really a supply shortage, it's really a demand shortage. Maybe it's a little of both. I don't know. Is Lucid a target for acquisition? Not by Tesla. How will space travel be a business other than fares? It's a good question, Robert. I struggle with SpaceX's business model. I get Starlink. Starlink is clear. I think getting launch costs down makes it easier for customers to launch things. And there's sort of this, if you build it, will they come? They could just end up selling more launch services. Travel itself, orbiting space hotel. I think if we are able to establish a moon base and maybe establish some kind of living quarters on the moon for people to travel to, I think a lot of people would travel to the moon, and I think a lot of people would pay a lot of money to travel to the moon. Now, that's never going to be cheap for the average person. It's probably always going to be a minimum. I'm going to guess it's a minimum of $10,000 a person to get to the moon. Maybe it's $50,000 to get to the moon. But there's a lot of rich people who would pay $50,000 to go to the moon. The number of people who could afford that if it was safe and interesting, absolutely. Great question. We have 25 minutes left before I'm going to switch to the Daily Lie. So for those who are just watching now, at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 24 minutes away, I'm going to end this live stream and move to the Daily Lie. There's a link to it at the top of the chat. There's a link to it in the description below. I'm going to talk about politics and propaganda on that. Should new roads be designed to facilitate self-driving? Not necessary. The self-driving is designed to drive on existing roads. New roads are not necessary for that. It would take too long to redesign all the roads for that. Oh, Quezi says, what makes me think that Cybertruck will be less than 5,000 pounds? The Model X is about that weight. So Quezi, check my channel. I've made multiple videos about Cybertruck's weight. Primarily, Elon Musk said that they were targeting the Ford F-150, and they were targeting it by height, length, width, and weight. And the relevant Ford F-150 that I believe he was talking about is a 4,700-pound Ford F-150. It's a combination of 4680 cell, structural pack. The exoskeleton construction actually saves weight, so that steel exoskeleton only weighs about 700 pounds. So by my math, the single motor could come in as close to 4,000 pounds, and the tri-motor should be easily under 5,000 pounds. And then you add in the 3,500-pound payload to the 5,000-pound weight, gets you to an 8,500-pound gross vehicle weight rating. That's my prediction. Other people can make other predictions. I think some other things, the fact that it's got the front and rear castings is probably going to increase the weight slightly over what I thought. But I still think Cybertruck comes in under 5,000 pounds. Exoskeleton construction, 4680 structural pack, those things together, plus more advanced manufacturing, get you a weight under 5,000 pounds. Did I see that Ford is opening 3 factories in Kentucky to make EVs? Why will it take 20? I saw that Ford was opening. I didn't see it was in Kentucky. Ford has some big field. They're just not innovating fast enough. This is, a thing. I have a t-shirt. If you check my elonbits.com, I have a t-shirt, Innovate with Extreme Urgency. Tesla and SpaceX innovate with extreme urgency. The other companies, they're not innovating. They're not innovating with urgency. It's not extreme urgency. They're not motivated in the same way. They don't have the same sense of mission. They don't have people. They're not able to motivate their employees to be on that mission, to work crazy hours. Johnny Olson, great question. Will the next Tesla model use 48 volt for everything? How much weight will that save? You know, actually, I think the Cybertruck might use 48 volt, and the battery day vehicle, sorry, I think both Cybertruck and the battery day vehicle might go to 48 volt wiring, which would save weight as well. I don't think that's a lot of weight. It's a little weight. I think it's also easier to manufacture with that in mind. I think some of that's coming. Have I been to Hanoi? How will FSD ever be able to negotiate a place like that? So the answer to that, Robert, is anywhere humans can drive. If FSD drives better than human, then FSD will be able to drive it better than humans. If humans can drive there, FSD will be able to drive there. It's just a matter of learning. It's a matter of machine learning. It gets better over time. Vihado says Austin and Grunheide, that's Giga Berlin, only need to make 70,000 for the yearly production to reach 1 million. Why doesn't anyone think that'll be the beginning run rate? I think it'll take time to scale up. I don't know what you mean by 70,000 a quarter, because the first quarter's already started and they're not producing yet. So I think it's going to take them time to get there. Elon has said it takes time to ramp, so I don't think they're going to get there that quickly. I think just getting to 900,000 is going to require them to produce 15,000 vehicles between them. 15,000, that's my rough numbers. Who do I think will be competitive to Robotaxi? I don't see any competition yet. Will Tesla outperform each quarter while all the other car makers have to sell less because of all the shortages? And do you think money will flow from their stocks to Tesla stock? I don't think there's that much money in other automaker stocks. I think that money that's out there should go to Tesla stock when they realize this company is going to grow faster and what the earnings are going to do. MCJ Gaming says 5% up on Monday, question mark. I hate making short-term stock price predictions. Even saying what it's going to be at the end of 2022. I hate making short-term stock price predictions because Wall Street does not think the way that I think. There's too many people out there making investment decisions that are relying on some other form of analysis that I don't understand. So should it be up 5% on Monday? Hell yes. Should be up 10% on Monday. But will it be? I don't know. What's the percentage of the population that will utilize robotaxis? This is a great question, Philip. Won't it replace public transportation instead of automobile ownership? So, Philip, in the short run, robotaxi will replace Uber and Lyft and taxis. Uber and Lyft around $2.50 a mile. Ballpark taxis are probably a little more than that. If robotaxi starts at $2 a mile, it undercuts Uber, Lyft, and taxis and takes customers from there. Over time, as the number of robotaxis increases, that you have to equalize demand and supply. You can't charge too little for a robotaxi ride if you don't have enough vehicles to supply the demand that creates. So as they add more robotaxis to the market, they're able to bring the price down, bring the price down. At a certain point, the price becomes low enough that it becomes competitive with owning your vehicle. It's around 70 cents a mile. When the price drops below 70 cents a mile, it starts to become attractive to people to ride on a robotaxi rather than own a car. And people don't think about this, but the hassles in owning a car, you got to go buy insurance, you got to replace the tires, you got to replace the windshield wipers, you got to get it cleaned, you got to fuel it or charge it up, whatever. All these, you got to put it in your garage, you got to take, all these things you have to do to take care of your vehicle. If you go robotaxi, you don't have to worry about those things anymore. So as long as there is a convenient robotaxi network that the cars come when you want them, you don't have to, you own your car, you have to go park, a long ways out in the parking lot and find your way back to the car later in the rain. If you're in a robotaxi, it drops you off and picks you up at the front door. There's a lot of advantages. So I think initially it displaces Uber and Lyft. Over time, it comes down, and I think it beats out automobile ownership. People riding public transportation in the United States they can't afford cars, so it'll take a while longer for it to displace public transportation. That's my thinking. About 18 minutes left before we go to Daily Lie. When do I think Tesla bot will be mass produced? 2025 or 2026, I think, when they start mass producing Tesla bot. It's hard to read Elon. Elon said they're going to have a prototype in 2023. Prototypes are easy. Manufacturing is hard. I think it was Karpathy. Somebody just talked about some progress people are making on teaching robots to walk. So that'll be interesting. Let's see. Matt Burns says surprisers at the shareholder meeting. I'm expecting the big surprise to be that Model Y is being produced already or close to being produced, and that they're going to start taking orders for Texas Model Y, which is going to be a different model than the existing models. I think it's going to be a high performance Model Y. Right now they have Y long range, Y performance. I think we're going to see a high performance Model Y. I don't think they're going to call it Plaid, but maybe they'll call it Plaid. Will Tesla bots make all vehicles capable of FSD? No, Tesla bot is not going to be designed to drive a car. Tesla bot is going to be designed to do stuff that cars don't do. That's not a priority to have Tesla bot drive a car. Tesla bot isn't going to have 8 cameras on the exterior of the car. How much revenue would disrupting the trucking industry add to Tesla in 2030? I don't know. I haven't looked at that yet. I think that's down the road. I'm not worried about that. What's a market with a market sell-off imminent? How big a hit does Tesla take? I don't know that a market sell-off is imminent. I don't know why you think there's a market. I don't know how to predict when market sell-offs are going to happen. Does moving HQ to Texas help with tax obligations? Great question. I think the answer is yes, but I'm not sure. Mark Potashnik, I don't trust Wall Street either. Kathy Woods thinks there will be 40 million EVs sold in 2025. Do you share this view? I don't want to bet against Kathy Wood. I think it depends on how. That's like a China ramp. That's the small EVs made in China ramp up that aren't really like what we think of as Tesla EVs. You know, small cars that are city cars that don't go very fast and don't have much range. I think China's going to make a lot of those. They make them really cheap, but you know, you and I would not want to ride in them on a road with 5,000-pound SUVs. Do I have thoughts on security for Tesla driving software? I think Tesla has some really smart people who can anticipate problems with that and be ready for it. I don't think there's a real risk of the cars being hacked in that way. I don't know anything about ELMS company, the EV delivery van. I think that it's likely that a self-driving Tesla battery day vehicle, there will be a cargo van version that will beat out anything like that. Will there be a China demand issue once cars are being produced in Berlin and Shanghai cars are not being exported? No. I believe that there is very, very large demand in China for the Model Y. And as time goes on, as they improve manufacturing, they will be able to lower price as needed. They have really high margins on their cars sold in China. If they need to, they can lower price and do really well. Lin Yenchin, great question. Innovating with extreme urgency, can that be done outside of averting immediate starvation as an incentive? Isn't that part of why smart folk forget to eat for days? I think the answer to that is that if you look at SpaceX and you look at Tesla, Elon Musk has defined a mission for those companies of something that they're trying to achieve that is really hard and really important. Same thing with Neuralink. I think the same thing with Boring Company. They're trying to achieve something that's a really, really challenging and really, really important. That if we can achieve this, it's going to make the world a better place. It's going to make humanity a better place. It's going to get us to Mars. It's going to make it a multi-planet species. And he has found people who share the vision, the passion for that mission, and they are then willing to work really hard and put in a lot of hours and think and take risks for the mission. And he hires veterans who are really good at pursuing a mission and putting long hours in. They're used to putting long hours in for little pay. Now they get put long hours in, they get more pay. Magikarp says, just having all cars controlled digitally has exposed a lot of safety risk. No, I think all cars are already largely digital anyway. Any thoughts on Redwood Materials? I don't think I know enough about Redwood Materials. I think it's promising that JB Straubel as a startup that's going to recycle battery materials. It doesn't really matter until there's a lot of battery materials out there and they're not out there yet. Because the batteries last so long that they don't need to be recycled yet. There just isn't a volume of, you know, let's say you start with 2018 when they started producing the Model Y, and that started to be significant volume production of electric vehicles. 2018 Model Ys aren't going to need their batteries replaced for 8 years. So you're not going to see, and the scale goes up from there. So really it's not till 2026 or 2028 before you start seeing a significant volume of batteries that need to be recycled. Is Texas factory already up and running? It's possible. I think we're going to learn that in 4 days. Ben Pena, thank you. He talked about the video I did on FSD about the young girl that died, Hannah Curran. Check my channel. I did a video. I did a clean version of the video recently. If you're logged into your account, I did a video before that where I had swear words in it. I took the swear words out for the clean version. I think it's really important to understand why FSD matters, and I think it's really important to understand that we need to get there. We need to stop people from getting out of the way. Am I optimistic on Lucid production? No. What is the business model of Boston Dynamic? I don't know. I don't follow Boston. As far as I know, Boston Dynamic is a boutique robot maker. I don't know when they're going to scale. Lin Yan Chin, I wonder if Elon will make a combat training version of the Tesla bot. Martial artists in the army would enjoy that. Initially, no. I mean, Elon is very clear that the Tesla bot is not designed to be a fighter. It's designed to be easy to push over and easy to run away from. Will there be a future bot that will be combat capable? Maybe, but I think Elon wants to avoid the Terminator perception of bots. More road congestion as people move away from public transportation. Not if we build tunnels. If Boring Company builds a lot of tunnels, we're going to see less road congestion. And if you ultimately get to the point where self-driving cars can drive closer to each other, or they can follow each other more closely, then you increase the capacity of the roads to handle the traffic. Be nice says that's a pretty sexist thing to say. What's a sexist thing to say? What did I say? Did I say something sexist? All right, 10 minutes left before we go to the Daily Lie. Any comments on Lordstown selling the factory to fund executive salaries? I don't follow Lordstown. I don't find them interesting. Tesla bot is a lover, not a fighter. Interesting. Do I still have FSD beta active in my car? You know, I haven't noticed, Raphael. Raphael, thank you for joining the chat, Raphael. I haven't really noticed. You know, I haven't checked. I don't see a safety score. Maybe we'll go for a drive together. I think the short answer to your question is that technically, as far as Tesla's concerned, Omar still owns the car. I'm waiting for my registration to go through. Once my registration goes through, I'm going to add the car to my account in the proper way, and that may change FSD beta status. Steve Levine says quite a few Chevy Bolt batteries need recycling. I still don't think it adds up to that many. That's the point. Recycling to matter, it has to be hundreds of thousands or millions of car batteries, not Bolt batteries are small. I don't think it adds up to that much. Looking at the questions. When would you personally consider it safe to travel on Starship to the moon? After 100 incident-free missions, 1,000, 10,000? That's a great question. Because I would definitely go. I don't know. I think 100 missions is probably about right. I don't think it needs to be 1,000. 100 missions sounds about right. That's pretty good. I like your thinking there. Glad why. Philip says, I heard about the horror stories about people that bought solar roofs. Okay, first of all, they're not horror stories. Okay? The fact that something took long to happen and didn't happen quickly, and like I had a solar roof order and it didn't happen, I wouldn't call it a horror story. It's just a disappointment. Does everything bad have to be a horror story? Let's not exaggerate everything. Does Tesla get an update this year or next if they can sell vehicles directly to Texas? Okay, this obsession some people have that you can't buy a Tesla in Texas is false. Coming back from Los Angeles, we stopped in Austin. We stayed with a woman named Sue McLean who just bought a Model S long range. It was in her garage. She picked it up that day. You can buy a Tesla in Texas. There's lots of Teslas in Texas, in Austin area in particular. You can buy a Tesla in Texas. There's some quirk in how you have to buy it, and it's a slight complication. It's not a big deal. Sue said it was no big deal, and she bought her Tesla in Texas. When stock go to $46, $80? That's a good question. End of 2023, maybe? Sometime in 2023, I think it reaches $46.80. That's a good question. When will the Tesla share price be $46.80? All right. 8 minutes left. Tesla plus SpaceX equals robots building habits on Mars. I definitely think there's a role for Tesla bot on Mars. I don't know if Tesla bot's gonna be ready to do that much. Yes, Sue McLean's in the chat. Thank you, Sue, for joining the chat. Thank you for sharing your house with us. Thank you for letting us see your Model S. Thank you, Raphael, for your efforts to. Please feel free to text Omar and tell him what he needs to do. I don't think it's an appropriate conversation in the chat. You know, if you want to get together later today, we could probably swing, or maybe tonight or tomorrow, we can probably swing it. I'd be happy to get together with you. We could talk about it in person. Teslatino lives very close to me, and I'm actually going to be closer to him tomorrow. So if you want to get together, maybe we'll have breakfast tomorrow, something like that. I'd love to get together with you and talk more about it. Will BYD come to the USA? Probably, yes. Do I think GM and LG Chem will stick with large pouch cells? I think eventually they'll catch on that they need to go cylindrical or prismatic. I don't know when. I don't really worry about GM. LG Chem makes cylindrical cells already for Tesla. So that shouldn't be a problem. I think they make cylindrical cells for Lucid as well. Will Tesla make an Iron Man suit? I don't think so. Walmart and Dunkin's will buy Tesla bot in the thousands. Interesting. I could see Tesla bot being useful for inventorying store shelves. Boring, repetitive. It's not dangerous though. Will Tesla ever allow private robotaxi business? Yes. The car I bought has FSD. Yes, it does have FSD. It came with FSD. That's why I paid as much as I did for it. I wouldn't have paid for it. I wouldn't have paid that much for it if it didn't have FSD. Marriage Partners Ministry says the number 2 player is clearly BYD. Why doesn't anybody discuss this? I don't think it's clear. That's why. BYD is clearly a player. Are they the number 2 player? I don't know. Volkswagen's trying. So Teslatino, I don't think I can do it today. I've got I'm gonna be going till around 3:30 between this and my other live stream coming soon. For those who aren't not clear, in about 5 minutes I'm gonna end this live stream and I'm gonna change over to the Daily Lie. There is a link in the top of the chat, and there is a link in the video description to the live stream that's going to be starting a few minutes after this is over. Quezi says he has his US spec Model 3 in Italy. If I plan on coming to Italy, let me know. I have no plans to travel outside the United States. The kind of thing that I would talk about, the reason why is something I would talk about in the Daily Lie. I don't talk about that here. I don't feel comfortable traveling to other countries right now. Am I going back to Starbase to watch the orbital launch whenever that happens? I definitely plan to go back to Starbase to watch the orbital launch when that happens, and I plan to stay at Rocket Ranch. Check Ellie in Space's channel to see her video about Rocket Ranch. I will be making a video soon, but I have got a lot of other stuff on my plate. Do I see potential that nuclear power can threaten solar and wind and ultimately impact battery business of Tesla? No, I don't see that as a problem. I think that nuclear power is a useful baseline power source, but ultimately, the capital cost of nuclear power plants is higher than what's happening with solar and wind, and solar in particular. Oh, dear God. Robert Reeves says, have I looked at AEI Alset Homes? Yeah, I'm familiar that Alset spelled backwards is Tesla. I'm familiar with Alset Homes. Have they built a house yet? I get this question all the time in the chat. What do you think about Alset Homes? Tell me when they build a house. Tell me when they actually build a house. I talk to the guys. I think they're nice people. When they build a house, we got something to talk about. They haven't built a house yet. When they build 10 houses, it's really worth talking. Jessica Kirsch, I mentioned to you earlier. Talked about your flood situation. Watch for flooding, yes. Oh, you lived at Rocket Ranch too, cool. I should interview you about Rocket Ranch, Jessica. We should talk about that. That should be coming. Ellie pole dance. Ellie did not pole dance at Rocket Ranch. Ellie used the escape pole, and she did a couple of moves, but they weren't, I wouldn't call them pole dancing moves. No, Jessica, we'll do it another day. This stream is ending in 4 minutes. I'm going to the Daily Lie to talk about politics and propaganda. And then next week I don't interview people on the Sunday live stream. I interview people at different times. Sunday live stream is Sunday live stream. That's sacred. Sacred. So Frederick Stimcord says Alset has some homes for rent in Texas. Send me a link. Email me a link. Put a link in the comment. I have not seen anything from Alset Homes. So, other than talk. What is my perspective on Tesla's solar roof business in the next 5 years? I think solar roof has a lot of potential. I think it needs another round of engineering. It needs a lot of other stuff. So, we'll see what happens there. Do I think that FAA delays for SpaceX could be influenced by pressure from Jeff Bezos? No, I don't think so. There's a link in the top of the chat, and there's a link in the video description for the next live stream. When will Cybertruck start production? Cybertruck will start production. Well, there's a rumor that Cybertruck production will start in the first half of the year, 2022. I don't think the rumor is credible. I think Elon said that Cybertruck will be, a year from when he last spoke. So that's a while. Yes, I know Best in Tesla's big on Alset Homes. Have they built a house yet? They've been talking about Alset Homes. People have been talking about Alset Homes for more than a year. Have they built a house yet? Build a house, then come talk to me. As Boxable sold an actual home to an actual customer. Prototypes are wonderful. Start delivering products to customers, then we can talk. So I got 2 more minutes here. I get worked. You guys are getting me worked up. I love it. I love it. This is great. Somebody asked about if I'm going to go back to Starship Starbase to watch the orbital launch. I'm definitely planning to go back to Starbase for orbital launch. I'm planning to stay at Rocket Ranch. When it will be, I don't know. My guess is it's December or January, and I definitely want to go see that. And I really want to go to Austin again. I want to go to Starbase again. I could go more than once. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. So we are towards the end of this. I am afraid I want to thank everyone for your support. I want to thank the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters. Please support this channel on Patreon. Please join the Daily Lie, which I'm going to be switching to the Daily Lie next. Please join the YouTube channel. A lot of YouTube channel members in the chat. Thank you so much to the moderators. Thanks to Jessica Kirsch, Tom Nash for joining the chat. And I forgot who else I saw in here. Sue McLean. Thanks to everyone. So I'm going to end this now. And if you're interested in hearing about politics and propaganda from me, at the top of the chat, there's a link. And in the video description, there's a link to, I'm going to be streaming there. You have to join, but the stream will be free. And I do other videos. Thank you, Breakneck Trent, for your support as well. Really appreciate it. So time to end this stream and time to move over to the Daily Lie. Thank you very much for watching here. Check out the Daily Lie if you want to hear about politics.